Happy day, students. In this video, we are going to start off with the first chapter from history, tracing changes through 1,000 years. Can you observe the given picture with two different maps? Compare the given maps. Can you observe the difference in the dimensions? Yes, both the maps doesn't look similar. Map 1 was made in the year 1154 by an Arab geographer named Al-Idrisi. Map 2 was made in the year 1720 by a French cartographer named Guillaume d'Isle. Can you find the transformation of the maps across many years? If you closely observe, map 1 shows little different dimensions, like it looks upside down, of the map that we currently use. That is, southern portion of the India is in the place of northern India. Whereas map 2 was believed to be made 600 years after map 1 was created. Map 2 looks familiar to us, right? How many of you agree this? Yes, we agree so because the coastal areas are mentioned with so many details and added with places properly. Also, students, can you relate to the names of the places though it is mentioned in French language? Say, for example, the coastal portion of eastern southern India is named as Coromandel, which is also still in use. The picture of the maps and the differences in the dimensions across different time periods just shows that the science of cartography greatly differed in the two different time periods. New and old terminologies. In the previous slide, we observed that the two maps had difference in the details and information presented as a part of the map. It shows the context of the information changes along with the time. Now, apart from the information, there are other changes that happened across the timeline of Indian history, like the language and words with different meanings, etc. We should understand that history has been recorded in various languages too and has various meanings, which also is believed to be changed along with the time. For example, medieval Persian is different from the modern Persian. That is, the middle-aged Persian language, the script followed, is believed to have evolved into a different script format, which is now considered as modern Persian language. Can you visually observe the change in the script of the Persian language as shown in the picture? There's another example to support the changes observed in the terminologies used. If I say the term Hindustan in today's context, what do you connect the word with? I'm sure you all would refer it to the entire nation state which we consider it as India. But actually, it had significant meaning across centuries. That is, 13th century chronicler Minat-e-Siraj coined the term Hindustan and used it in all his chronicles, referring the areas of Punjab and Haryana and the lands between Ganga and Yamuna. Now, students, you all might wonder, what does the word chronicler mean? Yes, it is a new word, and I want you to understand. Chronicler is a person who accounts or records different historic events. Same ways, in 14th century, there was a poet named Amar Khusrau who used the term Hind to refer the entire Hindustan. And there, 16th century, the great Mughal Emperor Babur used the same term Hindustan to mean the geography, the fauna, and the culture of inhabitants of the entire subcontinent. Another example is the usage or the meanings given for the words. Example, the term foreigner, generally in today's terms, we say someone who is not Indian. That is, a person who doesn't belong to the same country. But during the medieval period, that is the olden days, any stranger who didn't belong to the village's specified society or culture was called to be a foreigner. And the word foreigner in English with the same meaning differed in different languages. Like in Hindi, it is termed as Pardesi, and in Persian, it is termed as Ajnabi. Historians and their sources. Who is a historian? How do they create the information about the past? A person who studies, investigates, and writes about the past is a historian. For tracing the changes through so many years, the historians use various types of sources that depends on the period of their study and the nature of their investigation. In this lesson, we will brief past the changes that happened through 1000 years, roughly say between 700 to 1750. So coming back to the sources that were used by the historians to create documents about the past, it includes n number of sources such as coins, architecture, inscriptions, and textual records. I believe we have already discussed about inscriptions and manuscripts. Moving forward from here, the usage of textual records increased dramatically. Here is the right stage where the value of paper was understood. But how? Compare the given two situations. In the middle of 13th century, a scholar wanted to copy a book, but he did not have enough paper. So he washed the writing of a manuscript he did not want, dried the paper and used it again. Whereas a century later, that is in 14th century, if you had keenly observed, if you bought some food in the market, you could be lucky and have the shopkeeper wrap it for you in some paper. Now tell me students, when was paper more expensive and easily available? Paper was more expensive in the 13th century, whereas in the 14th century, paper was easily available. Archives. Now, the textual records were used to record information on papers. What was recorded on the papers, or what did people use the papers for? It was used by people to write holy texts, chronicles about the rulers, many important letters, teachings of saints, judicial records, some other important records related to the government, etc. There were places where all the historical textual records were collected and safeguarded. And there were people who collected these records, or we can say who had only the privilege of collecting such records. They were wealthy people, rulers, and the places where these collected manuscripts were preserved were monasteries and temples. Now, apart from this, there was another special place where the historical textual records were preserved. Such special places, like libraries, are called the archives. So, archives are the place where documents and manuscripts are stored. Scribe. In those days, people called scribes copied manuscripts by hand. Just imagine yourself how you used to copy your friend's homework into your notebook. Similarly, scribes were people who were appointed or specially employed to copy the information from the original manuscripts into new copies. It was a very challenging task as the handwriting was not clear and legible, because of which the scribes were forced to make changes by literally guessing the unclear content in the manuscript, so on, adding extra words and information in between sentences, thus tampering the original record. Thus, the changes grew over centuries repeatedly, and obviously, the same text became different from the original manuscript. This led to the condition where historians resulted in reading many versions of the same manuscript, and it was really practically difficult to find what was originally written by the author. Right? Revision of Chronicles. Now, in the year 1285 CE, political thinker of Delhi Sultans named Ziauddin Barani. He was a 14th century chronicler. He wrote his first chronicle in the year 1356, and later he himself revised it by writing second version after 2 years, which is 1358. Now the first version was not to be known by anyone until the year 1960s. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day. Thank you.